Coach, a little bit more on how you structured last year and going into this year, the fact that you guys did play so effectively. How much do you try to keep that the same versus how much do you tweak it, I guess?
Every team is different. They have a different personality. They have different leadership. So obviously you look back, but it's kind of a formula we've had for a number of years of going to bowl games. So we'll look at that. We'll follow the blueprint, but we'll tweak it, to the needs of this current Team 119. We'll tweak it towards what this football team needs, but there is a blueprint in place.
And then sort of following up on Wes's question, there are published reports that Zach specifically is a candidate at Maryland. Have you spoken with Zach about that?
I speak to all our coaches all the time, and everything, if they can make themselves better in the profession and for their families, very, very supportive. But again, there's a lot of speculation out there, and anybody can guess and be right. And that's the thing is, if there are reports, if there are tweets, stand behind what you say. But Zach is a very, very gifted football coach, along with all of our coaches, and I expect people to come after our coaches. That's what we want. Just like we spoke with Wes, that means we're doing great things, and they want the Tennessee brand, they want the Tennessee product, and all the great things that are going on here in building a football team and a football program.
Steve, then John Adams, and Austin Price, and Courtney, one more.
You talked last week about having kind of recruit your own players as well as the high school guys out there. I was just checking to see if there is any news on that front, if anybody has indicated plans to leave, and if there's any update on the Midget front as well regarding the bowl game or anything.
The Kurt Midget, no update there. And in terms of the follow-up question from last week, I believe it was, is, that's just the world of college football. Transition's going to happen, and that's just part of it. And it's the world that we live in. It's instant gratification. It's if they can better themselves as well, we'll support them. But not as of right now. But as you know, it's kind of become the norm in college football.
John Adams, Austin.
Butch, there's a perception when a Big Ten team plays an SEC team that the SEC team has an advantage in speed. You might not see that stereotype when it's Ohio State and Alabama, but just in general, do you think you guys have an advantage in speed over Northwestern?
I don't. They're 10-2 for a reason. They've won 5 games for a reason. There's a reason why they're the 12th ranked football team in the country. I do. I think sometimes that's way blown out of proportion. They're a very, very good football team. They're very well coached. They're going to challenge us schematically in all 3 phases. They're really good in the return game as well on special teams. And again, this is a football team that knows how to win. You just don't beat Stanford if you don't have team speed. So they have very, very good team speed. I think they're a complete football team. I've tried to spend most of the morning, working on that. But again, it's a balancing act as I'll leave today to go recruiting. But they're a very talented football team, and it's going to take all that we have and more so.
Austin and Courtney, and we'll finish with Jimmy Hines.
Butch, Kyler talked about a couple of weeks ago how important it was to get back to a bowl game and get that feeling again of winning one. How much do you lean on, not necessarily him just because he's a senior, but the other veteran guys, even if they're sophomores that have played a lot of football? And what was kind of that message to them as a team meeting yesterday when you kind of announced to them we're going to Jacksonville?
Tampa.
Sorry.
That's all right. That was one of the most rewarding things of being here, is being able to gather the football team up in the locker room. A little bit different setting than last year, and be able to tell them that we were going to be able to play in the 30th anniversary of the Outback Bowl in Tampa, Florida. And just seeing the excitement on the kids, it's been a different mentality. Our kids knew what was at stake towards the tail end of the season. They knew that they were, fighting for relevance in terms of the bowl games, and they knew that. And this is probably the most questions, the most excitement I've seen in a football team of where we were going. So again, I think that's a byproduct of last year's experience, and we'll rely on that. We had very good practices here in Knoxville. We had a very determined football team going to Jacksonville, and a very focused football team, and we'll rely on those experiences. But as we know, teams change, and it comes down to the leadership, which Kyler and a lot of the seniors, and you even mentioned some younger players that still have valuable experience, that will lend to that cause.
Finish with Jimmy Hines in the front here.
Coach, what would be the benefits to finishing the season with a win and being ranked in the top 25?
Anytime you're ranked is big, and you don't want to make obviously this game is very, very important, but we've had a very rewarding season. We've had the highs and the lows. We experienced the adversities that a long season brings about, but I think the resiliency that our players have shown, the resiliency that this football program has shown, the resiliency of our loyal fan base of staying the course and sticking together and being positive when we could have all turned negative. And you always want great expectations in your football program, but you know how far we've come in a very short period of time when you look at a lot of firsts since the early 2000s, the 2007, 2008 era. It's been a long time, and we need to step back and be thankful and grateful for everything that's going on here, and things just don't happen overnight, but they're happening at a rapid pace. I firmly believe that, but there is something to be about having the momentum of winning and getting a ninth win and being ranked in the top 25. But regardless of that, no bowl game will change how far this football program and this football team has come in a very short period of time of 3 years.
That's Tennessee Vols head coach Butch Jones preparing his team for a good Northwestern team. January 1st kickoff at 11 a.m. in the Outback Bowl. To college hoops now, the Vanderbilt Commodores coming off of a loss but playing well. Kevin Stallings' group, very, very talented. If you have a chance to make it out to Memorial Gym this year, please do so, because they're fun to watch and they are built inside and out with the way they can move the basketball around. They take on the Dayton Flyers tomorrow night at home. They'll also host Wofford Saturday afternoon, and then a week from today, they're at Purdue. Kevin Stallings spoke with the media earlier today and spoke about a big stretch for his Doors program.
Kevin, a lot of people see Dayton as kind of that top 30 some odd team. Do you see them in the same class as like a Kansas and a Baylor play?
Oh, I think they're a top team. I don't really care to compare teams too much, but they're a top level team without any question. And you're talking about a team that's got 3 starters back from a squad that went to the Sweet 16 a year ago and went to the Final 8 2 years ago. So I don't think there's any question about the quality of their program, the quality of what's going on competitively in that program. They're putting together really, really good teams year in and year out.
You talk to your guys about this early in the season about kind of the pecking order that their record is, that they're blowing out teams and then losing close ones with 2 ranked teams. Do you see it that way?
Not really. We've come up short in a couple of games and had stretches in both of those games where we played well. We just didn't play well enough to win. And our guys will bounce back. That's who they are. And I have full confidence in their competitive character that way. But we would like to have won that game the other night. We felt like we were in position to win it, obviously, and we just didn't make the plays that we needed to make and get the stops that we needed to get to get it done.
Is the types of wins that you guys need to kind of justify your own expectations for this year?
I think if you're going to have a special year, you have to win. You have to win games like this, yes, or the games like Baylor, or the games like Kansas. I mean, the more of those games that you can put together in the win column, the better your resume looks at the end, and the better you feel about yourself at the end. But it's a process. It's a process for all of us, and so. Again, we thought we could have won that game the other night, and we're disappointed that we didn't. But we got another very, very difficult quality team in front of us tomorrow night that will be a great test for us, and hopefully we can get that one done.
Another big thing with McElwain, he said, is making sure he doesn't foul. Is getting him in foul trouble a big focus, and how do you balance that with that?
Well, I think that anytime that there's key players on the other team, I think that you if you can get them into foul trouble, it's certainly to your advantage. And we're not going to get very far outside of what we do in an effort to try to get someone in foul trouble, because I think that ultimately just works in reverse. And we've been a pretty efficient offensive team, and we need to continue to be efficient efficient offensively, and Dayton is exceptional on defense. They're very, very good on defense. So we'll have our work cut out for us in terms of being able to produce the kind of points and the possessions that we want. But we're going to have to be very good in order to get it done.
With Pollard's speed and quickness, is that the kind of scenario that you envision Jeff Roberson playing for would help with a little bit?
Well, I think that a guy like that is a guy that hopefully Jeff can match up with when he's in the game, and you know, when I made references to Jeff being able to guard 4 men from other teams earlier in the season, he wasn't the kind of guy I had in mind. I mean, he's a high-level player, and I was talking about more like the 6'4", 6'5" guy that's way undersized that some of our bigs might have a hard time with. I mean, Pollard's a legit-sized 4-man that's a very, very good player, but hopefully Jeff, you know, he'll certainly get his turn with having to guard him, and hopefully he can do a good job with it.
Despite that loss to Baylor, how fair is it to say you're pretty upbeat about your team?
I've been upbeat about our team the whole time, the whole season. I was very disappointed the other day because I felt like there were just some things that sort of occurred last year that occurred in that game as well, and there's a point to where we have to get past and learn from what happened, the lessons that we learned from a year ago, and turn those into successful lessons and successful opportunities, and I don't feel like we did that as well as I had hoped the other night. Rebounding being one thing, just one, ball care being another, and then, you know, there were even others than that. So hopefully, you know, we continue to learn lessons and continue to grow from them, because we tell our players, you get to about this point in the season, a little bit later than this, and most of your physical gains have occurred. Now what you're going to, the progress you're going to make from this point are mostly going to be mental gains, and getting smarter, and having those experiences be productive for you, and learn from, and lessons learned and taken forward and applied, and that's where we're at. We've got to apply some of these things and then make the best of them.
From a coaching standpoint, is it helpful for you to have a loss like that, or do you just despise it and you never want to?
Yeah, no, I don't.
No, to talk to them about
I was talking to them about the same things after the games I was talking to them about before the game. So that to me, losing didn't enhance that conversation at all for me, and I don't think it did for them either. So it is kind of what it is, as they say, but I would like to think that we are intelligent enough and experienced enough to learn from wins, and don't need to lose in order to learn.
You had home runs with Butler, Xavier, St. Louis, now they've similar teams all day, 10 minutes started. Is there something about that profile that they really?
Nah, you know, as much as anything, you start looking for a home game, and the people in those leagues are smart. They hold out, and they know that they'll get a Power 5 conference team to play them in a home and home if they wait long enough, and we were in a situation where we needed a good quality home game, and Dayton again certainly qualifies for that, because they're been a very, very good team, a very good program, and have a very good team this year.
Going back through, Josh said that when they were watching film, he noticed a lot of guys were busy boxing out. So is rebounding going to be one of the big things this year?
You know, rebounding is always an emphasis for us, because Pete Carrill said one time, the old Princeton coach said, that there's an inverse proportion between good rebounders and how closely they live to the nearest railroad tracks. And I just don't think we had very many guys that grew up near railroad tracks. So it's just something that we always have to focus on and concentrate on. But, you know, again, of course you go back and you take the things that you didn't do well in the game before and you try to work on those in practice. But rebounding has been an emphasis for us all season long, and will continue to be. It'll have to be.
It's been my like having Josh in there somehow for as many years?
We tease sometimes and say that he's the only guy that's been here as long as I have. But Josh is he's a great kid and a great ambassador for our program and is playing good basketball for us and is going to need to play very good basketball for us because you always want your seniors to play the best of their careers, and Josh is the only senior that's playing very much, and so we need to have him have the best year of his career.